And so I'm curious about what surprised you the most as you've gotten into the payment space. There's so many payments companies, you know, um, and like it's not like the first. It might have been like one of the first industries to actually be disrupted and have like a big presence in like software digitization. What surprised you the most about getting into this problem space?
Yeah. Between being in the fintech area and being an engineer, I went back to business school and got really interested on the financial side. Um, I thought I was going to be much more interested in strategy or marketing because I was already kind of working in the space. But honestly, Ari, an old prof of mine, got me very interested in the finance space. And even in business school, a lot of the ways that they look at competition, it's either on the product and a differentiated experience, or it's on price. And it's a race to zero competing with like the 800-pound gorillas in the room. In payments, that's not really the case. I didn't believe it for a while until spending a lot of time with Nick, our CEO, and other board members and people in the industry. But payments is really not a winner take all market, kind of like digital searches with Google. There's very, very, very different need between the different types of businesses. And the market is way bigger than anyone might think. Um, Square, super successful, love their hardware, great company. They only do 2.4% of transaction volume in the US, and they are a $50 billion market cap company. So there's niches inside of there where, let's say on the lower end with micro merchants with Stripe, with Square or Stripe, serving them pretty well. There's the super upper end and the race to zero with Stripe and Adyen, where you've got big companies with big contractual deals buying down the rates a whole lot. But there's a gigantic kind of middle industry that have very unique needs. And often a lot of them are super unsexy businesses between textile factories and warehouse and whatnot that are served by, they don't necessarily have the buying power, of your McDonald's working with Adyen as an example. But their needs are a whole lot more sophisticated than, your hamburger shop on the corner that Square is really well positioned to solve. So there's a big area inside of there. And I didn't believe that it wasn't going to be a race to zero. But I absolutely do now. So trying to find those opportunities for underserved businesses inside of there was definitely the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, I feel like most venture-backed enterprise software serves other venture-backed enterprise software businesses, and it just supports this venture-backed economy. Uh, so everyone's just getting their mortgages paid by billionaires trying to grow their money. And uh, you mentioned earlier, like with industries like construction, that Microsoft killed it because they created these approachable, low-code ecosystems of like software. Like um, David Hannemeyer Hansen said in a podcast, and for the listener who doesn't know who that is, he's one of the co-founders of Basecamp. What rock have you been hiding under? They've been like one of the most like profitable bootstrap businesses for the last 20 years. But he talked about how Excel was like one of the most successful low code platforms. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Right. Where people base their whole identity on how, I mean, there's like an actual like competition, like world championship Excel competition where they give them like a challenge and they're like 3D modeling stuff in Excel. And, and Microsoft did so well because they appealed to like the most broad normal businesses. And, uh, I've always, that's an insight that I've been thinking about just chewing on for the last like year or so of like, man, if I ever like start a business, you know, there's this whole like long tail economy that aren't, you know, other tech companies you could sell SaaS to help them build their SaaS. But there's textile mills, factories, and I've been really thinking about this a lot because I'm working in produce, where very not tech savvy, very disorganized, and it's not their fault that it's disorganized. It's just produce is more volatile than crypto. Like there's just you have this perishable asset that like within 24 hours it's going to go bad and lose all of its value. unless you invest in millions of dollars of equipment like cold storage and certification so that you actually get a shot to like sell to Costco. There's so many moving parts, so many things that could go wrong that it's really hard to like get above it and think like, let's think holistically. Like, how can we improve this process when there's just so many things that could go wrong? Like that, there's so much opportunity there, and most of like the big software tools that are worth a lot of money are just selling to companies like us, like the tech companies. So
Yeah. Now the B2B space is a whole lot of fun because the barriers to entry to solving those problems are higher. You probably, acutely know all the issues of the banking applications that you use as an example. But, how many people get exposed to that problem who are also equipped to actually be able to solve it? Like until you actually expose yourself to a lot of these industries, and I had, a big opportunity to do that working in manufacturing, oil and gas and whatnot, across Canada. I got to see a lot of these problems. So it became very compelling and obvious to me. But to the layperson, who didn't necessarily have that opportunity, I got to be in a kind of unique, fun position to try to figure out ways to solve their problems.